What in the world is going on with these massive price changes from one day to the next? The AMD 6600 was one price launch day, and then people go back. Various people, I actually posted this on my last video, and I was there yesterday looking at all the GPUs in stock, and the price is completely different, higher in most cases. So what's going on here? It's some type of price manipulation that happens one day to the next. So this actually got me a little bit upset. So let's talk about what's going on. Hey guys, Tiago here with Classical Technology. Remember to subscribe and like the video if you like content like this, GPU news, PC hardware. So let's get right into the video. The other day I posted a video where I went into my local store and I was surprised at how many AMD 6600 GPUs that they had. Of course, along with other GPUs that were just really overpriced that were sticking on the shelves. But I was really surprised at the AMD GPUs because they literally came out this very week. Generally, with GPU launches, they've been selling out very, very rapidly. So as I was just sort of, aware of that fact, something else started to crop up. I asked, how many GPUs they had sold, and it was only maybe half of what they had. And they even mentioned that the first day, the GPU was one price. It seems like they discounted it, whatever it was, $50 to $75. And then the other day that I was there, prices went up a pretty high amount. If you consider the starting MSRP of these GPUs, not that high. So if it goes up $50 or $75, that could be between 10 to 20% of the price, changing within a few days. That's really the kicker here. And then when they said it, I didn't really make as much of it. I thought they were talking about the MSRP of maybe, what the GPU should be, like $329. But then on my video that I did talking about the stock yesterday, I had various users post the same experience that they said basically the GPU was one price on launch day, and then the price immediately went up, or in one case of that really expensive Asus one that was $499, it actually went down $50. So if you were somebody that went a few days ago and bought this GPU for, $499 for 6600, outrageously expensive to begin with. So that's, starting off the bat, that's not a good price at all. And then literally like the next day, the next few days, it's down $50. That's a tremendous amount, because if you're buying at this, particular level GPU, it's going to be more for like a budget system, or at least whatever you can actually build that's considered a budget system nowadays. Because if the budget GPU is starting at $500, that's no longer a budget system. So that doesn't exist, I guess, in PC gaming anymore. We're really talking about mid-range and high-end systems only now. So to go back to the point here, so let's say on launch day, these GPUs, and some of them, let me use one example here, somebody who actually posted a comment. He was talking about the first day, and this was a 6600 Hellbound GPU. It was $359 on launch day when these GPUs came out, and the next day, immediately, it jumped to $449. And now, maybe that's part of the reason why these GPUs are sitting there. People know that their real price is considerably lower, and to go up that much within a few days, and it's not like it's a sale, it's going up the opposite direction. So if you stop and think about it, that's really, really almost unfair sort of practices for the, gamers, for the consumers that want to buy these GPUs. Because look at it this way, this was a GPU that we had no idea was actually coming this week. Like AMD barely talked about it. And if you read all of the other reviews and watch all of the other videos, that's primarily because they knew it's a terrible value for what the GPU is. The GPU itself, it does fine in 1080p gaming, but we've had that for years now at cheaper prices. Look at the RX 580. It used to be what, $200? That does 1080p. What does this one offer that those GPUs don't? It's not like AMD has any ray tracing that's really advanced, especially not at this level. So it's not like they're giving you something extra for really that tremendous price jump, literally up to $500 or more for certain models MSRP. We're not even talking about scalper prices here. So something is really, really, really off here. I mean, look, launch day, if a GPU is $359 that nobody knows about, nobody really knew about this launch day, so I doubt they even had lines lining up for this GPU, which had no hype. You could say people knew generally that the 6600 was going to come because the 6600 XT was out, and they generally will do a non-XT version, a little bit more binned down just to meet a certain price point, but nobody really knew it was launching on this day. So to make it cheaper, because it was after all a surprise, try to maybe people that would walk in or see the GPU maybe would think, oh, that's a good deal, and buy it. And then after Everybody knows that the GPU is out. I'm sure all of your inboxes were flooded with reviews of this GPU, many of them either lukewarm or tilting towards the negative side because of the price. After that, everybody knew about the GPU, so they're like, okay, let me go and check out if I can buy one. Maybe with the GPU shortage, it might actually not be so bad if you can get it at the MSRP, which remember, supposed to be $329. So the only people that were able to get anywhere near that, this $359 was likely one of the cheaper ones there, but that was only on launch day. Afterwards, when everybody knows about the GPU and the world is aware of this GPU, the word is out, and people actually have time to go and look at this GPU. Well, prices are up. Prices are magically up. And to go up from $359 to $449 on the GPU, that's that level, that's a tremendous price increase. We're not talking about like a $5 increase here or something like that. Very, very big price increase for the level of this GPU. Even if on a 3080 or 3070 it changes by 80 or $100, that's still a substantial increase. So on something like this, where gamers are already maybe are trying to put together a budget to make it fit into their system, to have it go up by that amount, I mean, $80 is, it's a hard drive. $80 is, maybe even some cheap CPUs or maybe even a cheap motherboard. So it actually makes a tremendous difference, a power supply, RGB fans, if you want to add that. Now you have no RGB fans because they increased the price. Your system is going to be RGB less. Now, I know some people don't like RGB, but a lot of people do, and that brings happiness a lot of times. So imagine what that price difference can do. So that's really the point here that's frustrating. Nobody knew about the launch day. Price is one thing. So that way, I don't know, maybe by accident, people that go and see it, or maybe that they hear about it and have time to go. But by the time most other people actually have time to think, watch the reviews, and then go, it's likely going to be the next day or throughout that week. So then the prices are jacked up considerably. Now, the one that stands out here that's weird as well is that particular Asus one that was $499 on launch day, and that's the only one that went down to $449, because I bet you even at that at that price they probably sold almost none of them, especially considering if they had half the stock still left. They definitely sold almost nothing of that Asus one. It's not like that Asus one is if you're buying a higher end card, maybe you'll pay a little more for an Asus Strix because you want that design or that cooler. But when we're talking about the level of GPU, the 6600, this isn't even like a Strix. There's nothing really that makes it better than the other 6600s. Maybe slightly better, the cooler or something like that. So it's really the brand that's like jacking that price up considerably more. Certainly not worth it compared to the $329 price. That's a $170 price stretch. That is ridiculous for the same GPU. It's not like you're going from a 6600 and even give you the decency of put an XT at the end of the GPU for that $179. You're staying within the same 6600, no letters. So you're paying for basically no letters. And that's basically the price of a 6600 XT or what it generally is on the secondhand market. And you're getting less performance and nothing special about that GPU. So no surprise there that they dropped that price by $50 while making everything else basically go up to the 400, mid 400 range. So that's why it's definitely upsetting. And there were various people that actually noticed this very thing. They posted, they saw it. People even screenshot the price that the GPU was on day one. And then some people went back or they were thinking about it, as is normal. Some people don't just buy on impulse, especially a GPU like this, that you don't know if it's going to be good or not, especially considering the reviews. So then people go back and the price is completely different. In all of the cases, it's higher except for that one Asus GPU, which I just don't think they would sell at $500, so they had to lower the price to see what's happening. So this is like frustrating on so many levels. I mean, you could really analyze what's going on here from so many different angles, but at the end of the day, it's definitely not what you can call consumer friendly, practices. I really have never heard of, like, let's say a GPU having a launch day price that's cheaper and then immediately going up in MSRP. I mean, let's look at the example of the 3080, $699 MSRP. If you catch it today, the Founders Edition, it's still $699 from Best Buy, even though it's almost impossible to get that GPU aside from this Best Buy drop. But even, days after, weeks after, the price stayed pretty close, even the third-party AIB GPUs. It was really only after and close to the new year where the tariffs came in and the shortages really became apparent to everybody involved. That's when the GPU prices started going up and up and up, and that's what we see here now. But even that wasn't like it was launch day $6.99, and then a few days later it's magically $8.99 or whatever it is, or $7.99. So that took a long time to happen, and the Founder Edition actually never changed. That all stayed at the same MSRP. It was really the third party GPU partners that went up in price, and even that was over time and more gradual, with whatever reasons thrown in between manufacturing and demand and things like that. So now, this is why this one is a little bit more egregious, is that it's within a few days, and we didn't know about this GPU until the day of the launch, so people didn't know what to expect. Launch day people wouldn't be able to get that cheap price, and then who wants to pay 10 to 20% more for what somebody got yesterday for a GPU that's already overpriced, to be honest, by a considerable amount. This should have been a $250 GPU. So that's really the main problem here. And then we really have to point to the third party, the AIB partners that are jacking up these prices, really taking advantage of the situation. Of course, it's a business. They see the the demand from gamers, from crypto miners, and of course the scalpers are always there in the middle to make things you could say harder or easier, facilitate transactions, if you will, for a fee which is often considerable. But trust me, scalpers are not going to be buying these GPUs because they are already at the scalper price level. So that at least eliminates one group. So then you just have to worry about gamers and crypto miners, neither of which really seem to be wanting this GPU. But the third-party AIB partners, first of all, they jacked up these prices, and if there's enough there for them to be able to swing on a GPU at this price, to be able to swing, $50 to $70, on their whim, pretty much when they feel like it after launch day, that means that these GPUs are already really obscenely overpriced. They're too high. There's room for it to go down. You can see how much stock there is, so it stops becoming a shortage issue. A shortage issue would be if they had maybe two on the shelves, a rare item, where then, yeah, you could put a premium on a rare item. Let's say if they sold out the first day, and then they're like, all right, these GPUs are priced way too cheap. I could see that happening, but they didn't sell out. When I went there several days later after the launch, they had literally half their stock left, which is a huge amount. So it means in this massive GPU crisis, especially on the lower end, we have not had any sort of budget-friendly GPUs at all, especially considering that people aren't buying these GPUs. They're leaving it on the shelves, especially now knowing that these prices were jacked up, you could say artificially after the fact. Even less likely that people were going to buy them, and that's a good thing because I think it passed the threshold of fair pricing for GPU delays, manufacturing problems, everything that we've going on. I think people will accept fair price increases because after all, we all see what's going on. Things, it's even hard to get toilet paper sometimes and water. So people are understanding of sort of fair little increments. There are things with the supply chain, but when prices swing this much and there's already a lot more room on these GPUs, we used to hear that GPUs have very tiny margins. And while that used to be true before these times that we're living in, I'm sure they really had to squeeze everything they could out of these GPUs. But when you're already taking a GPU like the 6600, which should be $329, should really be $250 or less if we're being honest here for a competitive 1080p GPU, and they're $500, there is a massive amount of margin here compared to the past GPUs, and I think they're really squeezing it past that threshold to the point where the buyer, even if they can't find another GPU, they just will not buy this GPU and let it stay on the shelves. And them changing the price from day to day like this, that shows you how much of a margin that it's there. And it's basically just playing a game with the market now. How much is the consumer willing to pay? All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry, I was a little bit revved up with this one just because it's so much stuff happening in a short period of time. It's like, just keep the price at a lower level. It's already so tough to get a GPU. I feel bad for people that, want a game, actually want to build a rig and be it sort of fit a reasonable budget and not really be like taken to the cleaners with these outrageous prices. And I really do hope that next year is better, or else what are people going to do in terms of PC gaming? It's going to be a very difficult market, like we've mentioned before. All right, guys, so remember to subscribe and smash that like button if you like content like this. Good luck out there. Hopefully you can find the GPU you're looking for at a more fair price, and I'll see you guys on the next video.